Hey Sergey, great to have you here on this mic. Awesome, because we wanted to talk to you about one topic today, which is I have called it strategic sponsorship, but I think we can also call it sport sponsorship because whenever I have a strategy meeting with one of the Watertech companies, there's one
Yeah.
slide in my deck
hmm
where we talk about marketing channels, and of course, sponsoring is one of them. And then I pull up a big sailing boat as an option for sponsoring because H2O Innovation is sponsoring a sailing boat for instance for the last ocean race, right? Last August
Well, we've
September.
done, yeah. It's been it's been we're in the third year now. So
In
it's
the
been,
third year now. So that means you're an example that you are going out and you have this kind of global vision to sponsor a sailing boat for a global race,
mhm.
which is unbelievable. The only other example I have is Salem that is going to sponsor Man City. So let's go into that here. Sergey, why?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And I believe it's great. And I really enjoy those situations where we can chat more in depth about marketing and communication aspect in the outer world. So why sailing has no boundaries? It's really international. If you look at sponsoring a sports team, usually there's many companies that will do um, a soccer team, well, football, depending on where you are, football, or they're going to be looking at uh, there's cycling team. So there's a lot of physical aspect to it, and then it's good because there's still visibility. So that's one of the question. But then it's also the question of what is the objective, what is the theme, what is the let's say the mission that the sports team want to carry out. For us, the sailing team, that is called the Be Water Positive Sailing Team. For us, it made a lot of sense because we want to carry out that message on a larger scale. Why sponsoring sport? I've touched a little bit on the fact that you can reach globally, internationally, with the fact that because it's a sailboat, it has bases around the globe. And it's also because there's the subject, as I mentioned, the Be Water Positive. And there's been, some experience where you see where some companies sponsored some sports team and they had to, because of in the midst of situation of the news of actuality, they had to sort of step back, say, well, we can no longer be part of that company, that sports team because of XYZ. It happens in the bicycling world. Recently, I'd say 6 months ago, there's a team that is partnering with Israel. And because of the situation that is happening in Gaza, sponsors decided, well, I cannot be, no judgment on the situation because it is horrible what's happening over there. But still, for companies say, I gotta take a 2 minutes break and see does that still has a positive impact, or is that still heading there where we want to be?
So, but how do you bring the message? The message, I mean, what a positive on a sailing boat that goes over the Atlantic, goes around the world. I think it was also be part of the Vendée Globe, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, it is the objective. It is to do the Vendée Globe. So it was not at the Vendée Globe.
Okay,
The official
was not yet.
Yeah,
When is the next
exactly.
one? I think in 3 years or so.
It's in three years. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so this ship goes around the world over every ocean, over every sea we have. So
Mhm.
how does it carry the message being water positive with the image and the mission of H2O Innovation? How do you combine these two things? I mean, help us to understand that. For instance, for the other water companies that may want to go that route
Of course.
as well.
As a water treatment company, what we're promoting, what we're selling, what we're at for is to treat water, to be conscious of the gold resource that we have and to be sustainable about it. So for a water treatment company to actually showcase that you need to reuse the water, you need to treat it, you need to recycle it, let's try to find other ways to promote that. Not only if you're talking to I'd say, the public that you see in trade shows, in specific, water treatment trade shows, they're aware of it. but you want also to go broader into the general public to raise the interest and say, you know, that you can treat it wastewater, recycle it, and reuse it so that it could be actually potable again. And the link with the boat is when you're in the middle of the ocean, you cannot drink the water. You need to treat it, and you need to treat what you're going to be consuming as water, because it's going to be. But you need to have that. You have a desalted water system in the boat. You do have the same, smaller scale, but still same technology, and that brings further in the fact that.
Have you provided that one? Have you provided that one as company? Are you?
No, because ours are bigger, are not for smaller systems, but. It could have been, it could have been an interest in what to do. But for us, we're into larger systems, industrial and municipal system that has way more capacities. But the message is still the same. It's not, and because it's international, it's not only a question of, well, only that or that region needs to speak about it. No, everyone needs to speak about it. Because if you're not there yet, you'll be there in 20, 25, 30 years. So you need to take advantage of knowing that the technology exists, that there's some people capable of, that there's a raising awareness about the fact that water reuse is a solution compared to, water mining that is good for certain location, but that in many ways in different regions of the world, it's not possible anymore.
So what is it, I think, as company, you have decided strategically that you are going with one of the sailing boats, that you sponsor one of the sailing boats. So what is your goal? I'm pretty sure that you have set up some goals, because you put a lot of money, and I will not ask you, don't worry about that, but I can imagine to be main sponsor of one of the sailing boats costs you a hell of money, right? So not that H2O Innovation doesn't have the money. So I think you're sitting on a big amount of money. But the point is, what is the goal you have defined to say, okay, we are going now all in, have a contract for many, many years with that boat, and it will sail over the ocean. So what is the number one goal you have decided to choose to, in the end? I mean, you have to verify whether this was successful or not in a way that you define it.
Yeah. For us, the major challenge is because, the industry, we're sometimes in a competition with some big players, Veolia, Suez, Nemo, the bigger ones. So how to, as a smaller one that still has tons of potential and interest and drive and will, and then we're chasing those big projects as well. How you can put up a name and let's say, an interest into what is one of our main business focus, which is water reuse. How to put yourself into that situation where you say, well, you know what? Yes, we advocate about it, and we have capacities to work into that scope of water treatment. So that was one of the ways through the water positive sale team that we've decided, all right, let's go on the advocacy of a major level where we can actually, because our footprint is international as well, we have offices in Spain, in UK, in US, Canada, Chile, and the boat often travel. So it's also possible for us to meet with our clients and our employees when the boat is coming up to advocate as well. So you're just bringing a lot more interest into what is the sailing world for once. And then also, and most importantly, to talk about the water positive and the water reuse.
So, but again, what is the goal? Have you set a goal? Have you set a goal, for instance, I don't know, needs to win so many races, needs to race so many miles, needs to get so many impressions, needs to get, I don't know. I have never put so much money for sponsoring. So what is the goal you take from marketing?
So, for the racing goals, this is more on the racing team's objective. So the objective that's the sailing team is to be the first Canadian, because his skipper is a Canadian, is to be the first Canadian to ever finish the Vendée Globe race, which is a big one, because there's been two other Canadians that have done it, never finished, and one never made the end of the race. So because there's less people that have finished a race than people that have been in space.
True, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that.
It's an achievement based.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And It's one of the most viewed sports in the world. For the visibility of it, this is where we put our interest, and this is the reason why we are doing it. It raises the interest of it's global, it's international, as I mean, and it raises also because there's some companies. You go back in the days 10 years ago, there was a sailboat that was raining every races, and it was Hugo Boss. But Hugo Boss decided we were going to put our name there. That's fine. For us, we thought it was more interesting to put the more positive theme of it there, because then we can partner with other companies if they are interested in coming up with us on the sailboat. But it's also, let's bring the subject forward, the object, the theme of the water we use for that. And then saying, well, us as a partner, we can support. But it's also, it's always a question of getting the more interest into what it is with the visibility of it.
So did you said that you're looking also for other partners to, for instance, from the water industry
there's always,
this water positive initiative to sponsor this racing team?
If there's other companies that are interested and say, hey, you know what? We'd like to, we're interested to. There's always interest in saying, all right, let's have a discussion and jump in.
Interesting. Okay, you heard it here, right? So whenever Veolia or whoever, right, wants to be part of a racing team that goes over the ocean and maybe the Vendée Globe in some years, that's awesome. So how important is it for you that, let's say, last ocean race, they placed 6 out of 7? How important is that for you?
Sorry, didn't get that one. Could you repeat that?
The last ocean race, they placed just position 6 out of 7. So what does it mean? Is that bad? Do you care about that, or is it just say as long as it race, I don't care?
No, but for a sailing team, and especially a young sailing team, there's some sailing team that have been more experienced and have been doing more races. For us to be there, it's also putting out the message that you are a company that you are a program that worth being there. We qualified, so that's already a good thing. Of course, the start was challenging. There was a technical issue on boat, but to actually make it to be qualified to do the race, it's already huge, because in the end, your name is there. The brand of the program is there. So that's what, on our end, that's what we want to be seeing. And, it's like you're doing bike, or like, I don't know if you're, doing the multi-sport. The more you do, the better you are. And the ocean race is something special because you're a team of 4. Sometimes it's some with sailors who you've never sailed with. So you still need to have that cohesion between everyone. And it's sort of a orchestra where you have tons of people around you that sometimes you never played with. You still need to find the right tempo to be there at the right time. So it's always the constant adjustment. And that is one of the beautiful things about the race, because it's 24/7. You're never stopping. So when there's 2 working out, there's 2 sleeping, there's always some movement. Some weather and it's funny because in some weather, you would believe that calm, no wind is good. It's horrible. You want to chase that storm. You want to chase that challenge that says that's going to put us in a situation where there's no room for much mistakes. But in the end, we're going to be way further, and that's going to be only that one that's going to make us win. So it's a challenge. It's technical, sometimes a little bit crazy, but that's part of it.
But it's good. I mean, the point that it is technical reflects also what we do in the Watertech industry, right? So I mean, everything what we do is technical, right? So super technical. And I remember once watching the Vendée Globe. Of course, I'm a fan of Team Malaysia, which has a German skipper. And I think once he said, that his desalination system went down, right, fall apart. And so he was on the ocean, rough conditions, and he had to repair really at the bottom of the boat, this little tiny things of the desalination system to get some water. But it was so crazy to see that, and that reflects so much our industry. What I really love, right? Even our operators, everybody who's in the field there, they need to do these little tiny things, even if our systems are bigger than this one.
And one of the major, I'd say, component, and you touch a little bit upon that, is the maintenance. You got to maintain your equipment up to date and make sure that everything fits, because you cannot wait till it breaks. because when it breaks, it's going to be too late. You're going to lose the race. It's going to be taking you time, energy, sweat, tears. Let's do the main thing, make sure that, every little piece, it could be smaller as the screw, that everything works fine so that the whole equipment can work and make you flow. This is a good comparison with our industry.
Absolutely. So here comes my experience with sports sponsorship.
Yeah.
I sponsored a local football team some years ago,
This
right?
is good.
With my company. And I think to do so is, even for each and every company, I highly recommend that for two reasons. From marketing perspective, to get some new customers, forget that. That is not the reason I'm talking about. Number one is you do something for the community, right? So the community where your company is based in. If you are based somewhere in the middle of, I don't know, and there's a football team or a handball team or whatever team, you can support them with some, I don't know, hundreds of euros over the year for the equipment, which is great. And it really shows your support for the community. But two, here's also another aspect. If you have your installation or your headquarter there, it can also reflect in a way back that someone is interested to work for you because you have a good image. So it goes in the direction employer branding. So here it is. I mean, you have a big sailing boat. So how do you leverage your stakeholders with that marketing challenge? How do you use this boat? I mean, do you invite the people coming to, I don't know, whenever they land in Kiel or in Montenegro? I think you told me you have been to Montenegro. Are you inviting stakeholders to that place to see the boat, to have a drive, or I don't know? How do you leverage that?
You see, there's one element also. When you decide to sponsor a team or sports, there's also because you believe in that sport, because you have a tie that is strong. You say, you know what, I want to be part of that movement and go further and bring a little of what we can do to make that program shine. For us, yes, on the stakeholder, call it, internal and external, because it also supports our employees coming in. So there was a race that was in New York City, which was 2 years ago. And it was the New York Van Day. So it was the last step before the Van Day Globe. It was still solo from New York to Sablé-d'Olonne in France. And it was an 11-day average race. Right before the start of that race, there was a race day, but it was internal, more of a showcase to show what is the sailing world to some of the, I'd say, locations where sailing's maybe, yes, it's known, but the race on sailing is less. You've always seen, some yacht club with big sails. What goes beyond that, and it's this sailing team. Same as compared with the F1. There's tons of people, but everyone knows the F1. Why is the sailing world in the racing sailing world less known? That's up to, I believe the more people will talk about it, more it will gain traction. In Europe, it is well known because it goes back to way further back in the history. So during that race in New York, we invited some partners, some suppliers, and we had some employees also with us to gather around watching the race. We had a chat with the sailing team to discuss what is the importance as well for the sailing team to get that word out, because yes, we support what they do, but they decided to get the name and to promote that program. So there's also that portion that is interesting. And for us, it made a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
When there was the ocean race last year, we had some clients in Cartagena, we had some in Nice, we had some in Genoa, and some in Montenegro. And we gathered at each location, there was a gathering with our employees there, meeting the sailing team, discussing what does it mean, to sail and to race around the world, but also what is in it for H2O to do it, and to give a little of a vision of what's a sailing boat and sailing racing boat, what it looks like, what is it made of, getting more of the excitement about the race as well. And we were discussing about the fact that sailing races are less known. There's an upcoming ocean race that will be ending up in, is that Saudi Arabia? I believe, yes. So you see, bringing the races to different places in the world brings a lot of interest and a lot of traction, a lot of visibility that is just winning opportunities.
And I'm pretty sure that your stakeholders, your employees, your partners, your suppliers, whoever you invite, they love to go to these places. I mean,
Who would not?
wherever that
Who
is,
would not?
for the gathering, to be at the sea, to see the racing, to see the boat come together. I think it can be much worse. I mean, consider that to my football sponsoring, right? I mean, of course you can invite for this little game, but I think it has a different impact in terms of the business opportunities you have. You can do at a race like the Vendée Globe or the Ocean Race or my little football club. But nevertheless, I think the lesson I will take with is, if you're a global company, then it would make sense, because the race is global, so it goes from place to place, and you can invite the people, because you are acting globally. You can invite the people and the stakeholders to each different places, right? So if you're just focusing on the US and you go global, there's not much leverage you have. So then you should go for a local sponsoring. So I think that is somehow the conclusion. How would you, I mean, if a Watertech company say, okay, I want to go that way, maybe I don't have that as much money and I don't want to go for the sailing boat, but how would you start? Tomorrow you start with another company, okay?
Impossible.
And you let's imagine, and in a marketing position, and your CEO is coming to you and say, okay, we have 20 grants, let's do some sponsoring. What would you say? What would be the route you would go?
The first component that I would say is, let's try to find something that has ties and that the people within the company believe in. So if there's a sport that some are really some good advocates, or they're thrilled about it and they have a strong interest, that is a huge superstar to begin with, because then there's going to be some interest into moving forward. I'd say it would be hard to try to get someone liking NASCAR if you are not a believer of the car racing world. Example. So you got to believe the sports you're into it. You got to also evaluate where the sport's going to be happening. If it is local, all right, does it meet your local stakeholders' interests? If it is global, all right, to which level? I'd say there's many sports that have international outreach, as I said. Biking is one, cross-country skiing is one, alpine skiing. There's many that are traveling a lot. It's only a question of, is there your interest in, does it fit? And do you think your stakeholders will be as attentive or, paying as much attention to it? Sailing boat speaks of itself. There's a huge sail. There's a message over there. On a piece of clothing, sometimes it's harder to see, but it depends on the visual aspects of what is branded, how is it branded. So for 20 example, okay, I would rather champion something local, because I believe you could do something, you can go further. 20 creating something global will be challenging.
Okay. So, I mean, the other examples, for instance, I have in my mind is, for instance, GF. GF goes, I mean, they are based in Switzerland. Switzerland is incredibly cold. They have a lot of snow. So they are in the winter sport, right? Very much in the winter sport. So you can see, if you watch now the Olympics, I'm pretty sure you can see GF somewhere sponsor. Grundfos. I mean, Denmark is known for handball, right? They are very well known. They just beaten Germany in the recently 2 weeks ago in the what was it, European Championship? I forgot. Anyway, so Grundfos is doing that. I mean, Salem, of course, Man City is a completely different game. But I think also, let's say, going more local, that makes absolutely sense to start with the sponsoring. To the number one thing you have to consider is, as you said, right, is how to leverage that, how to leverage this sponsorship, not in the way to find customers, but to bring the mission and the vision of the company together with that message, and use this as, how can I say, to use this to bring the stakeholders together, right? Including your employees, so that everybody really follows this message. And that makes absolutely sense. That's why I laugh that you are not have H2O innovation on the big sail. Nobody cares, because your logo actually is pretty small. It's pretty small, somewhere in the bottom, because really the message is clearly be water positive. Exactly. And that goes exactly with your mission. And that's why I wanted to have you here. So that's cool. So are there what are the learnings after doing this 3 years? So is there any learning, anything you can give other water tech companies in terms of, okay, that's what we have learned. We would avoid that, or we would double down on that in terms of sponsoring. Is there anything you can share?
You got to be committed. It's not a game of where you say, I'm sponsoring and everything's going to be ending up the next day done and with being successful. You got to be committed. You got to still hard work with the team in partnership. We are lucky to have Canada Ocean Racing, which is the company behind the sailing team, as a really good partner, having a lot of great, I'd say, traction with them. But it's also, daily checkups, making sure that we're aligned, that our objectives are met, that we can, support them the best we can. And as I don't know from themselves as well, because it's their calendar, they're doing the races. So for us, it's also making sure that, schedules are adjustable and we can be there when it's needed, with support. I say consistent hard work. Yeah, probably, and it goes back to that, but how could I say that? It's the measurement of what you're expecting, of expectations. Because as I said, nothing happens the next day. It takes time. So it's not because you've done it once, then it's going to be happening at the same time, twice the same time. It's always a question of following it. So, but that's good. That's perfect. And that's the core of our business. Yeah,
fully agree on that. But that reflects more or less everything we have in marketing, right? Everything takes time, and that's exactly what the CEO or the CFO doesn't want to hear, right? It takes time. Sorry, we need another 50 grand. We need another budget money.
Give it time. Let's nourish that, or let's pay. Baby steps will bring further than taking the big steps.
Yeah,
but time is sometimes. It might be of essence, but you're right. Time is sometimes what some people don't want to hear. Lucky enough for us, we're working, as I said, working really well with the sailing team. And we're all full on in a joint mission, being part of that sailing team as a partner. And that's why I mentioned earlier, you need to be committed.
Yeah.
If you're not committed, you might not be thinking on either the right path, or it might not be the right, let's say, promotional tool you'd like to use. You need to have a personal interest in that.
Absolutely. That reminds me, and final story here, last Watertech.
Yeah.
Watertech, there was a motorbike, because you said you need to be committed, you need to take that serious, and don't care more or less about the results, right? So, I mean, if you race the ocean race or the Vendée Globe, this alone is a huge achievement.
Yes.
Last Watertech, there was one booth, I can't remember what the technology was, but they had a motorbike on... A motorbike with a lot of stickers, right, from different companies as sponsor. So I walked around this motorbike, and I was looking for the sticker of this company.
Yeah.
So I asked this guy, because I couldn't find. So, where's your sticker? Yeah, we don't have a sticker, but we are sponsor. We are proud to be part of that. So, but that was absolutely not serious. So he took just the motorbike, which is fine, by the way. But don't sell it as a sponsorship if you're not a sponsor. And if you don't have a sticker on that motorbike, sorry, you are not a sponsor.
See us, and that goes with the Be Water Positive sailing team. The message that is sent out there is Be Water Positive. Our logo is there. And if you're looking at the cruise shirts, our logo is there. If you're looking at social media posts, our message is there as well. So it's all part of being integrated and be partner and be working along together, because it's not their success, it's our success.
Perfect closing words. Thanks a lot, Serguei, for sharing the story, and I wish you most of success for the next race with your message. And the Globe place second. I hopefully we can agree on that, because Team Malaysia, I mean, they need to be first, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
The Water Positive sailing team will be it could be they need to be taking the start. We need to start it as well, and then let's see where the race brings.
Okay.
Be good players.
Great, Serguei. Thanks a lot for being on this mic and sharing the story, and all the best, and take care.
Can't wait for the next one.